Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the Witcher Netflix universe has been in dire straits for some time now, ever since the abomination that was The Witcher Blood Origin released onto screens, and everyone from normies to diehard fans saw how horrific this series was, how much it diverged from the source material and diverged from basic common decency and common writing techniques that perpetuate a good and positive story. None of those were evident within The Witcher Blood Origin, and opinions about the main Witcher show have changed as well, specifically and mainly fueled by the recasting of Henry Cavill as well. Without Henry Cavill, this universe does not exist, and Liam Hemsworth will not be able to carry it forward into the future. So there is an expiration date on this series with the end of season 3 when Henry Cavill departs the role of Geralt. Now, they are filming seasons 4 and 5 back to back. We've known that for a while now, so they're at least getting it through 5. They're obligated through 5, but the 4th and 5th season will be crawling across that finish line. And I wonder if they're going to wrap up the stories, because they need a few more seasons than that to wrap up the story fully, because the books, there were 8 books, but they kind of put Season of Storms out into its own deal, not adapting it whatsoever. And The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny, they put into one. So they need at least one, probably 2 more seasons to truly adapt the story of the Witcher books fully. But that's actually not a problem, because they haven't been adapting the books ever since season 1. And there was mainly just little references and little scenes and nothing of actual note or value. But speaking of the books, we have a report from the author of the books, Andrzej Sapkowski, and what he thinks of this Witcher Netflix universe. Now, Sapkowski, he's kind of been his own thing. He likes to be off on his own, doesn't really give a shit about anything about these adaptations. He's really just not invested in adaptations of his works. He does his own thing, he writes his own stuff, interviews and talks to his fans only, and you kind of got to give him respect for that. As much as it sucks that he didn't believe in the video game adaptation, wanted to get paid up front and not get paid in a royalty percentage, which screwed him out a ton of money, but that was his own fault. Not really anything you could do about that. But he really does his own thing, and that is something that has to be commended, especially in the modern day when a lot of modern authors are throwing their support into abominations that are adapting their beloved stories. For example, Rick Riordan has thrown his full support into the Disney Plus adaptation of his Percy Jackson series, and from what we know about that, it will barely resemble his stories that people seem to love, and I do not love those stories whatsoever, so I don't really care about that. But there are authors like him who are betraying their fan base. So as much as Sapkowski doesn't get involved, he doesn't come out and criticize the adaptations for the most part, he doesn't come out and attack the fans or berate them for not liking these adaptations. And so that is a breath of fresh air in the modern day and something that has to be called out and praised. But this interview with him is reported by the Redanian Intelligence, where he talks about giving an update on new Witcher books plus his opinion on the Netflix show. Now, the official Witcher book series ended in 1999 with The Lady of the Lake, and that is one of my favorite Witcher books. It has some of the greatest character development for Ciri. It wraps things up in such a nice bow. And as much as I love how the video games continued that story post The Lady of the Lake, it is a very good ending for the books, and I don't particularly want to see him progress the story past that point. And luckily, that is something that he said he will not continue the story after that. It'll be more in line with Season of Storms, which was a 2013 prequel that came in between The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, and just kind of its own story. And it seems like that's what he wants to do again. And as much as I am interested in that, there's a brief caveat. Season of Storm was nowhere near as good as his original books. He's getting a lot older. It's been another decade since that book came out. I just don't know if he still got it all to write a great Witcher book, but I do love these characters in this universe, so I am definitely invested and interested in seeing what he can bring to life, if he can bring these characters to us once again. But more importantly, he has some comments about the Netflix Witcher universe. Now, these comments aren't much to speak of, but they reveal a truth about his contract, which is something that I want to highlight here. So when talking about the Netflix universe, he said, "I've seen better, I've seen worse." Now, that is really a nothing burger, but the important thing is I've seen better. Most NDAs say you can't say anything negative about whatever NDA is referring to. And a lot of authors have to sign NDAs to not damage the reputation of the current adaptation whatsoever, at least for several years after its release. If you don't affect the marketing, you're good to go. And that is very common practice that I've seen in Hollywood for some time now. But the fact that he can come out and say, "I've seen better," is an interesting thing. Yes, that doesn't really say anything about what he thinks about the Netflix universe, and maybe just referring to season 1, because I don't think he would say that about Witcher Blood Origin, because there's not much worse than Witcher Blood Origin, but it doesn't look like he has an NDA that is stopping him from having an opinion. So maybe in the next couple years after Henry Cavill leaves, once the marketability of the show is kind of died out, we can finally get his honest takes on this, because he could really tear this Netflix series apart better than anybody else, because it does not resemble his source material in a single iota after season 1. And even season 1 was just brief references and not really the actual story. Especially season 2 had really nothing of Blood of Elves in it whatsoever. So he could tear it down entirely, annihilate any arguments for adaptation integrity completely. And it looks like he has the option to do that. As much as I, respect him for not getting involved in all this and trying to stay neutral, which is a rare thing in the modern world, he has the option. And that gets me excited, because someday we may get the truth about what Andrzej Sapkowski thinks about the Netflix universe, and I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to see him tear it down completely, as myself and many others here on YouTube have been doing for some time now. But we'll have to wait and see if that is indeed the case, and see if his lack of NDA truly does give him the freedom to have such an honest take sometime in the future. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please action subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.